Hello and welcome back to the channel. If you watched the previous episode of the Lakehouse Build series, you would have seen us framing the walls for the 3-season porch. If you haven't seen that episode, be sure to subscribe to the channel and check out the playlist to find it. This episode is all about the roof trusses for the 3-season porch. We start with the end wall truss by first attaching the zip sheathing. We then build the overhangs that will make up the soffit and fascia. It is much easier to build them on the ground and then use Larry, our Genie Lift, to fly them into position. While Catherine applies the zip tape and rolls it to ensure good pressure and adhesion, I finish the last of the zip sheathing to ensure the gable end truss is fully covered. Here we are discussing the game plan for the overhang. We decide on 2x4s to make up the overhang with a 2x6 fascia. Once I grab the 2x4s, we then have to miter the ends to meet at the point. With our roof at a 12-12 pitch, meaning for every 12 inches of run, there is 12 inches of rise, the miter ends up being a 45-degree miter. I get Catherine set up on the chop saw so that she can cut the 2x4 extensions. They are all straight cuts at the same length, so much easier on the chop saw with a stop block. While she is cutting those, I mark out the layout so I know exactly where to nail them. With the extensions nailed on, you can start to see the overhang coming together. Once we nail these to the truss, we can then finish it off with the 2x6 fascia. With the 2x6 fascia mitered, I could then mark the same layout to ensure we get the extensions nailed in the correct spot. With the gable truss ready for installation, we set up some scaffolding that will help make the installation easier and safer. So much easier than working off a ladder, although we still end up using the ladder quite a bit here. With the scaffolding set up, I can then mark the layout of the trusses. This will help ensure the metal brackets are installed in the correct location. The brackets help hold the truss vertical and also provide that hold down strength to prevent any uplift of the roof system. With all of the brackets installed, it was one final check of the measurements to ensure the outside walls were parallel so that the trusses will line up correctly. With a little adjustment to bring the left wall in just slightly, we could then move on to how we were going to support the gable truss during installation. We decided to run some 2x4s vertical to act as a stop so that the truss has something to lean against. With everything else ready to go, it was a matter of getting Larry set up and into position so that he could fly the truss in. I fully extend Larry out as far as he can to ensure he had enough capacity and reach, as he basically needs to lift the truss in the center at the peak, and that needs to be at the halfway or center mark of the room itself. Larry is still very new to us, and so we are learning his functions and overall total reach. We even pull out a tape measure and verify his reach compared to the spec sheet. We determined that we need to move Larry closer to the house in order to have the reach that we need in order to set the trusses into position. With Larry moved closer, I do another trial run to ensure we can reach to the center of the 3-season porch. With the truss set and in the correct location, we could then begin securing it with a few nails at each end. We were also trying to come up with a way to help brace it and ensure it remained level and plumb. Because it is a vaulted ceiling truss, there isn't much to secure it with, so we decided to use some 2x4s on the outside, secured on an angle to help stabilize it. With it braced and secured, we could remove Larry, who was holding it up, and move on to the next truss. Once we get a few more trusses set, it should all allow us to tie them all together and prevent them from falling over. For the next truss, we pre-install the spacers that will ensure the trusses have the proper spacing between them and will also allow us to tie them all together. With the spacers nailed on and the guideline set, we could lift it over and connect it to Larry. It was then rinse and repeat. Install the spacers and the guideline, and then have Larry lifted into position. With a few more trusses set, I wanted to go up in Larry and nail off the spacers to tie all of the trusses together. Up until this point, they were only secured on the outside walls. Catherine grabs a pipe clamp that I use to bring everything together to ensure a nice tight fit. Any gaps at this point, and that would multiply any errors that might exist. With the trusses all together, I feel good about leaving it for the night. It was a long day and it was getting late. Time for some dinner and a good night's sleep. We will pick it up again in the morning. Here we are the next morning and getting ready to fly the next truss into position. We determined that Larry can no longer reach from his current location and he needs to move forward. Unfortunately, the tires that came with Larry don't work too well in the soft sand and the drive wheels just spin. So we used Bob to help Larry get unstuck and pull him forward a little bit. With all of the trusses set for the 3-season porch, we then add wheels to the scaffolding and add another section above so that I can work up top and secure all the trusses and spacers. We will also add 2x4 bracing to the bottom cord to help stabilize and ensure the trusses are plumb. This is where I'm going to end this episode. Come back and check out the next one as we continue the Lakehouse Build series. Please drop a comment below, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.